Hello spooklets and welcome back to the channel, and if this is the first time you are seeing this face,
subscribe for spooky shit.
So this is brand new to the channel for those of you that haven't caught up yet or those of you that are new. So on a Monday we have paranormal investigations as per usual where I go hunting for them, and then on a Thursday we are talking about them. So we're going to talk about some of the most haunted places around the world, and we're going to start off with the UK. So I do have some lined up, but we're going to kick off with the UK's most haunted castle, Chillingham Castle. Also, whilst I'm here, a massive thank you to the subscribers on this channel that are channel members. You guys are little legends. Chillingham Castle is somewhere that I really want to eventually go investigate myself. At the moment I can't do that, so we're going to delve into it today. We're going to talk about the history of the place, we're going to talk about the ghosts that reside there, and we are going to talk about some people's experiences that they've put online at Chillingham Castle. I love history, I love ghost stories, and I love hearing about other people's experiences. And if that is your kind of thing too, then the Thursday videos on this channel are going to suit you to the ground too. But if you are new and you like paranormal investigations, then my Monday videos will be for you. But seriously, I'm looking forward to doing this series, so join me. So Chillingham Castle is situated in Northumberland. This intact medieval castle was built in the 12th century as a monastery. The 600-acre park at Chillingham is famous for its wild white cattle that have lived on the land since the park wall was erected in 1220. Chillingham has been home to the Grey family and their descendants since 1246. In 1296, a Scottish raid destroyed the original manor house, which may have been replaced by a tower which forms one of the four corner towers today. King Edward I visited Chillingham Castle in 1298 whilst on his way north to confront William Wallace in battle. In fact, many monarchs have visited Chillingham, including King Henry VIII, James I and Charles I, just before imprisonment. After Sir Thomas de Hayton gained a licence to crenellate in 1344, Chillingham became a fully fortified castle complete with dungeons and torture chambers. His castle adopted a quadrangular design with massive towers at the four corners, a style rarely found in Northumberland. The castle has undergone many changes in subsequent centuries. Chillingham suffered damage during the years of the Pilgrimage of Grace, which probably resulted in the rebuilding of some of the towers. It was refurbished and redeveloped in Tudor and Stuart times. At its centre is the Great Hall, an Elizabethan chamber overlooked by a medieval minstrels gallery. Work on redeveloping the north range of the castle took place in 1610, possibly under the direction of Inigo Jones, although this is not proven. The 600-acre park at Chillingham is almost famous for its wild white cattle, which have lived there since the park was erected in 1220. They may have lived there for centuries before that. Chillingham cattle were hunted in medieval times, but today live freely in the park, watched over by a warden. They are never handled and indeed have no human intervention in their lives. So that, guys, I've just read off historicuk.com, and that was a bit of history on the castle. Why is it haunted? Who haunts this place? Okay, so just to let you know, obviously, like I said, I want to go and investigate there myself. They do ghost tours, which is awesome. And it says at the top in red on chillinghamcastle.com, Haunted Chillingham, are you brave enough? So ghost tours and ghost hunts run all year round. And it says Chillingham Castle boasts some of the highest levels of paranormal activity in the country, with a large collection of spectres and apparitions spotted by visitors over the years. The poet Longfellow begins an apt description of Chillingham with the following verse: "All houses in which men have lived and died are haunted houses. Through the open doors the harmless phantoms on the errands glide. with feet that make no sounds upon the floors. Okay, so it says under ghost tours, you might be lucky enough to spot them during the day, but for the best chance, you should visit the castle at night on one of our highly popular guided ghost tours exploring the haunted areas of the castle and grounds. Why at night? If a place is haunted, it's haunted, day and night. It's just that in the dark, obviously, whether you're scared of the dark or not, it becomes a bit of an atmosphere when it's dark, doesn't it? And it just creates an ambiance. But for me, if a place is haunted, it's haunted. I go at night when I go do my investigations because we work in the day, for one. Two, it's quieter at night. That's it. It's nothing to do with when spirits and ghosts come out. They're out all the time, surely. If a place is haunted, it's haunted, right? Okay, so it says Meet the Ghost. This is still on their website, guys, the Chillingham Castle website. So it says Meet the Ghost, the White Pantry Ghost. In what is called the inner pantry, a frail figure in white still appears. The silver was stored here and a footman employed to sleep here and guard it. Historically, one night when the footman had turned into sleep, he was accosted by this lady in white. Very pale, she begged him for water. Thinking it was one of the castle guests, he turned to obey. Suddenly, he remembered he was locked in and no visitor could have possibly entered. This same pale figure is seen today, and it is thought the longing for water suggests poisoning. Oh, okay, that's creepy. So, ghost number 2, the ghost in the chamber. Not all the ghosts are those we see. Some are merely felt as impalpable impressions on the air. So sorry. As the poet Tennyson says, there is this sense of something unseen yet distinctly moving. It can be a chill, dark, creeping sensation, or maybe just an oppressive atmosphere. I say this when I'm on an investigation. I am scared of the dark. Hold my hands up to it, but a lot of people that are subscribed to this channel know that I am scared of the dark. I am getting better though. The more I do it, I am getting better. But I have to take into account that I'm scared of the dark. So when I feel that the atmosphere is thick or there's a lot of energy about, I have to take into account, is it because it's dark and I'm scared of the dark? But because I've done it so many times now, I know when I'm sensing being scared of the dark, if that makes sense. So basically, just listen to your senses if you're on a ghost hunt or paranormal investigation, whatever you call it. Whatever you want to call it, I call it both. So, voices in the chapel. In the chapel, beside the Great Hall, the voices of 2 men are often heard talking. It is never possible to follow their words, and they stop talking if one makes serious efforts to trace them. I find that as well, actually, when we're on an investigation. Me and Zoe have spoke about this so many times. The amount of times that you stand there so quiet, but then you start talking and that's when they start talking, or you hear something anyway, and it's like, why? Just do it when we're quiet. So, ghosts in the courtyard. When the moonlight casts shadows of the battlements across the worn flagstones, it is positively hard not to see the shades and shadows come to life. So you've got the chamber. Is that the torture chamber that's haunted? Voices in the chapel. So you've got the chamber, the chapel, the courtyard, and the pantry ghost as well. So in the pantry as well. There is also, it says, extracts from recent visitors in Chillingham's haunted rooms. So somebody felt a hand on their arm. It was a most friendly feeling, and I believe someone was trying to guide me to see something. Somebody else, my camera just would not take a picture of the orbs and lighting I actually saw. Yet when I developed my film, there were just those same orbs, but in different places and rooms, literally all over the place. I'm a bit funny with orbs. I do think it's dust. Sorry. And then we've got the guide told me not to be frightened, and funnily, I was quite happy, even with the distinct whispering I heard in the King Edward room. Oh my days, that is so cool. So let's go. That's got me wanting to look at experiences now. So let's come off this site and go find some experiences that people have had in Chillingham Castle. So Adelaide's hauntedhorizons.com. They've been, let's have a look what they've said. So they went to the castle in 2016. And having seen it on numerous documentaries and TV ghost hunting shows, they were intrigued to see what it was all about. They booked one of the most haunted rooms as well to see if Chillingham Castle ghosts were real. Okay, so I'd forgotten about this John Sage that's supposed to be at Chillingham Castle, and these guys have elaborated on this. So it says the castle also hosted a dark past. It is claimed that the darkest time was one of the torture and death, mostly at the hands of the resident torturer John Sage. John Sage had fought with Edward I, but once injured was unable to fight anymore, and being loyal to King Edward, pleaded with him to keep him in some capacity. It's a good job I'm putting the words up. He was given the job of torturer and stepped into his new role with relish. It was said that he had a deep hatred for the Scots and little mercy, with over 7,500 men, women and children suffering an agonising death at his hands. Often legs and arms were broken before they were thrown 20 foot into the oubliette, if that's how you say it. With no way to escape, they were to eventually starve and die in pain and in fear. If this was true, then one can only imagine the feeling of hopelessness. So it was also said that John Sage met with an equally gruesome death after he accidentally killed a tribesman's daughter that he had been in love with. The father extracted his revenge, and John Sage was executed at Chillingham with parts of his body taken as souvenirs. Oh, a fitting end to a life dedicated to such cruelty. So it does say, they've also stated, I will note here that there do seem to be conflicting opinions on whether John Sage ever existed or not, which, to be fair, I do remember reading that. I do remember hearing that myself. But whether he did or not, the bloodshed and violence were very real. Okay, right, that's fine. So they don't know if it's... Obviously, they wouldn't just say there's a torture chamber. There was obviously a torture chamber, right? Because there was things in that chamber. But it's whether John Sage, I'm guessing, was real. But, yeah, the bloodshed was real. And they've also obviously stated, no wonder Chillingham Castle is widely regarded as one of the most haunted places in the country. Okay, so they've also brought up another spirit that's meant to be in the castle. So one of the most famous ghosts is the ghost of the Blue Boy, often witnessed by flashes of blue light or a halo. Interestingly, I wasn't to know this until researching here for this article. Okay, so I didn't find it either until I've read your article, not that you're watching this. These sightings settled down when two skeletons, one of a man and the other of a young boy, were uncovered during renovation work. They even found documents with the remains dating back to the Armada. I'm so sorry. Who they were and why they were hidden remains is a mystery. So upon arriving, they did find a guest book which had some writing in, paranormal and not. So the room that these people had, the previous guests had footsteps in the room that they were staying in, and also taps turning on by themselves. That was creepy. One guest apparently was so terrified that he couldn't sleep in the bedroom and ended up on the couch for the night. Around the castle, guests had been touched and also children were heard running around. And then in brackets they've put, we didn't realise how relevant this would be for us. So, oh my days. So it wasn't intended for a sleepover. It wasn't intended for, like, what did they put? How did they word it? To be a serious investigation, but just a sleepover in a haunted castle. That's all they wanted out of this. They were very under-equipped for this visit. I really want to go now, guys. I want to go to Chillingham Castle. So they started their investigation in a big room which was filled with some unusual objects. Oh, and apparently they also found a number of items that previous guests had stolen from the castle, but then returned with letters of apology. As it seems, the castle has a witch, and anything that is illegally removed from the building gives the culprit bad luck. So I'm just going through, because they're just, you know, reeling off every room they went in, what they got. So far they've had faint noises, possible shuffling and footsteps continued. Okay, so one of them thought they saw a flash of blue light from the peripheral vision by the door. Okay, so the flash that this Alison saw, her name's Alison, was quickly followed by the sound of a door and then what sounded like a child running down the corridor. So they experienced it too. This is where I find experiences in places quite interesting, when people have similar experiences. If everybody had a different experience, it would be a bit like, but with it being the same, like these, you know, they've read that they heard children running, people have heard children running, and now they're hearing children running. It's crazy, and it just makes you think, could it be paranormal then? So is it the blue boy because they saw the blue light? Well, Alison saw the blue light and then the door and the running. That is crazy. Yeah, it says there was no one around and it was the early hours of the morning, and it does say sounds of children have commonly been reported in the area of that building. And they're then questioning, was it the blue boy? They slept soundly, no footsteps in their room, and the taps didn't turn themselves on. Not to say that people that have experienced this on their visit are lying or whatever. I've said this so many times, you could go to the most haunted place in the world and nothing happened for you. Because if it's residual, which I think is the most common haunting, you could go on the wrong day, the wrong time, the wrong month, do you know what I mean? And nothing will happen for you. So it just wasn't their night, unfortunately, by the sounds of it. They've said they'd love to return though and try again. That's really cool. Okay, so I've just found another review of someone that went to visit Chillingham Castle, and this is the northeastfamilyadventures.com. northeastfamilyadventures.com. So they were in the still room and dungeons, and they've put, no idea if it was a draft, but the door in here kept opening and closing. This sent Elliot straight back outside, as he has heard about the Chillingham ghosts. So they may have had an experience or not. It could have just been a draft. Obviously, with me not being there, I can't feel the draft or assess the situation, so I wouldn't know. But it's good that they're, you know, trying to say it could be a draft. But it was weird. That's what they're saying. Okay, so I am now on www.spiritseekers.info. So they've put, is Chillingham Castle the most haunted castle in the UK? And they've gone on to put, my personal opinion after last night's paranormal investigation has to be a yes. After many years of seeking ghostly activity at loads of haunted venues all over the country, thousands of hours sitting in cold dark rooms, last night in the Great Hall, Chillingham Castle, sitting on my own in the dark, this full figure apparition walked up the length of the hall, stood looking at me, then sits down in the seat next to me, and I'm still there looking at her feet beside me. Unbelievable. Big thanks to Carl, whose persistence trying to book the castle for years. Okay, and they go on to say their thank yous. That is quite cool. I want to go to Chillingham Castle really, really bad. Okay, so I've just gone on to Amy's Crypt's website because she's been to Chillingham Castle, and I'm just going to read a bit off because she's got some information that I don't think I've come across yet. So going on about the torture chamber, first she talks about John Sage, which we've just spoke about not long ago. So there are displays within the torture chamber. And it says, and Amy's put, though many have claimed to experience the phenomena, I can't say that word, within Chillingham's torture chamber display, this is not the original place of torture. The original chamber is actually sealed up and lies roughly underneath the ground of the tea room. Supposedly, the actual torture chamber is filled with human remains and was sealed off to the public after a seance was conducted within that ended in some terrifying results. Okay, that's creepy. So you've got the blue boy, which we've recently found out about. Okay, Lady Mary Berkeley's ghost. A former lady of the castle is also thought to roam its halls. Lady Mary Berkeley is said to have lived out her life within Chillingham's castles in great sadness. This was after her husband, Lord Grey of Wark and Chillingham, left her for her own sister. She is commonly reported within her former living quarters and has been seen gazing out of the upper floor windows. Do you know what? If Matt went off with my sister or anybody, I'd haunt him. I'd haunt him forever. Okay, so there is a piece on mass executions, but I don't know if YouTube are going to let me read this because it is quite graphic, so we're just going to leave that one. But I am on Amy's Crypt website if you want to go read that one yourself. So you've got the Haunted Chapel, which we have been through, but I'm just going to read it because I do believe it says something different. Even Chillingham Castle's chapel isn't safe from ghostly goings on. Within this room, 2 skeletons were located underneath the ground in a vault. A further skeleton believed to be unrelated to the first 2 was also located underneath the ground a short distance away. This one was the skeleton of a young girl, many believed to have been hiding, but from who or why remains unknown. Her ghost is said to haunt the chapel, usually communicating with female visitors, playing with her hair and filling the atmosphere within the corner. Her body was found with feelings of great sadness. Oh, that's really sad. And then we've got the pantry ghost, which we spoke about. There is quite a lot of the grounds as well that have got a very bloody past. So you've got the hanging trees and Devil's Walk. In a nutshell, again, Amy's Crypt if you want to read this yourself. So Devil's Walk is similar in the area of the hanging trees in the sense of the ground here is littered with human bones due to many other people being hanged and left to slowly rot and decay into the earth. That is gross. But yeah, it seems like Chillingham Castle, if anywhere's going to be haunted, I've always said a place with history could have a haunting. Because a lot happened back in the day. They didn't care, did they? Not a lot of people do these days, but you know what I mean. I really want to go to Chillingham Castle more than ever now, and I will make it happen one day. My dad really wants to do it. I have said this before, actually. I think it was on a live. I can't remember. But my dad really wants to do Chillingham Castle. I wonder if me and Dad, I don't think he'd do the paranormal side to it. Well, he would, but he wouldn't. My mum would. I need to do this. I'm taking my parents on a paranormal investigation. What did you think though, guys? Next week we're covering another place. I won't reveal it just yet. You will find out next week. If you follow Fort Spooky on Facebook and Instagram, you will find out. Make sure you follow those socials. Go give me a follow. Makes me look popular. Anyway, I'm going to go. Thank you so much for chilling out with me today, guys. I hope you found this as much as I have I hope you have found this just as interesting as I have, because I have found this really, really interesting. And again, it's made me want to go more than ever to visit Chillingham Castle. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me, guys. I love your company, and I will speak to you all in the next video. But until then, sleep tight.